been tricked. Bamboozled. Alright, anyway. Here we are. It's going to start off on Submarine. In the bottom right side, we have ourselves a blue Terran player fighting for the KC Gamers. He is Innovation. His opponents, in the top left side, in the red, he is a Protoss. And he is, of course, playing for the Jin Green Wings. Give it up for Trap. Alright, Trap versus Innovation. A matchup that we all know is going to be absolutely brilliant overall. One that both these players will be able to make very, very close. A little bit of a spike there for some reason. Alright, now it looks like we're fine again. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, Innovation versus Trap. It is the best of 5, so there's quite a couple of games potentially to be played between these two. We'll have to wait and see, of course, if any mind games are going to be partaken in this one as well. Not necessarily have to, of course, in these weekly events, you know, these weekly online cups. Very often, more so the players just kind of try to do the regular stuff, right? Try to enhance their regular play, the straight up kind of meta play I would expect from both these players. Especially Innovation, of course, that he is more on point on that one. Only a little bit, though. Only a little bit. He knows how to make things a little bit awkward or a little bit weird sometimes. He knows how to innovate. At first, he never knew how to, but ultimately, in the end, he's really gotten there. He's filled out that name of his. Really started to innovate here and there. Now, the innovations never always picked up continuously. This is true. But some of them definitely did, right? Some of the things that we can trace back to Innovation, the things that a lot of Terran players are doing right now. Because they are just fantastic, steady ways into the macro game. For example, the Raven opening versus Zerg kind of comes to mind right now. Of course, that's one of the ones that kind of fell off after a while here. Being able to see that Adept moving out. Not skimping out on any defenses here either, with that bunker on the way. Twilight cancel attack routes from Trap. Alright, so that means overall most likely going to be Blink. It is a very small map though, not uncommon to see a Adept player either. Could try to get himself some glaives here. There is that robotics facility, but that doesn't mean anything just quite yet. Let's just wait and see what's the next units that will be coming out of the warp gates, and I assume it will be more Stalkers since we already have another Stalker here, right? You don't really need a Stalker in the PvT matchup if you are going for anything but Blink Stalkers. They're still quite strong units overall, but it's not like you need to shut down an Overlord trying to fly in. It's not like you need to do much of anything else. Okay, a little bit of a wall there. We'll be able to hopefully keep Innovation out of here. He still has a Reaper as well, but the Reaper is coming in from a different angle. Trap already anticipating this, but it looks like the Reaper still gets in and gets the full scout off right now. This is a very, very nice little maneuver from the Reaper. We'll be able to see the Twilight Council, see that it's researching, and see the Robo as well. Like, he saw absolutely everything, so not too bad, not too bad. Probably going to be pretty happy with that one. He's going to get to play in whichever way he wants to. Most likely going to get himself a siege tank or two. Set up the defenses with a couple of Marines. Maybe, you know what? Well, I guess he didn't see a crazy amount of gateways here, right? So he doesn't have to build bunkers in the main base as well. That's more a thing that you want to do if there's more gateways than the 4. It's kind of keeping tabs on it as well. Alright. This is a good maneuver though from Innovation as Trap is moving out. That means he's not going to be paying attention as much at home. Also increases the odds of actually getting kills here with these units. A lot of mining will be lost right now. Innovation not delaying the shooting of the Widow Mine by any amount though. So the mining will continue on very quickly. Only 2 probes lost. Not too bad. Pretty good, actually, I would say. Huh. Does feel a bit more choppy than usual, the game. May just be my ping towards the Korean server. But I will try to see if I can lessen it a little bit. Perhaps put less stress on my overall internet. I don't think that's a lot I can do, but who knows? Who knows? Sometimes a little can mean a lot. That's what we've learned from StarCraft 2 after all. Okay, double Marauder production. I like that. It's very useful against the Stalker opening. Immediate follow-up into the Colossi here afterwards from Trap. Another great maneuver, I would say. Colossi really, once again, showcasing that they are still a very, very strong Protoss unit for a while now, right? Kind of fell out of fashion for a little bit, and now it's just like, well, you know what, actually, the Colossi didn't really mistreat us in any kind of way. They are still very capable of shooting out some major damage, as long as you don't make too many of them. Otherwise, they may become a little bit too easy to counter for the Terran player. And I doubt that Trap will make that mistake, of course. Alright, so third base on the way for Innovation. Did take him a little bit here. Most likely is going to go off of the 2-base attack. Well, as he's taking the third base, of course, but that is when he most likely will be moving out together with those siege tanks. With the War Prism still alive and kicking, though, could prove difficult. Actually, he's just sending a little cluster of infantry. Is he? Okay, no. He was just checking. He was making sure that there were no Stalkers there to snipe at him. Unfortunately, those Stalkers are here right now. What's this? Why did I hear like a Twitch thing? Interesting. Okay, no. Innovation is gonna just take the third base. And for a while now, we've been seeing Terrans doing this kind of thing where they take a very safe third base and they don't quite move out with the timing that normally they would move out with. And I don't know, maybe you know, it must have evolved over time now. Because this is kind of what happens straight after, right? The shield battery overcharge, where Terrans would just suddenly kind of be like, all right, well, I guess I'm just not going to be able to push out anymore with the same pushes and expect the same fairly stable results. So they just kept doing their own builds, but then instead of moving out, they just kind of stood in front of their own door, taking a third base, and that is still kind of what we're seeing here from Innovation. Now, to be fair, he does have a pretty juicy economy here, right? He never let Trap get too far ahead. Trap is already getting a fourth base, though, which is a big deal. But ultimately, yeah, it's a very slow-paced game so far, and it's not what you expect from Innovation. Innovation, he is very well known for disliking the late game versus Protoss. Maybe this is him just kind of trying to figure out how to deal with it. Maybe he's trying to get more comfortable with the late game Protoss scenarios, as it does feel like it's become a little bit less avoidable, yeah, per se, right? I'll have to wait and see. But yeah, if Innovation now is looking to get himself into the late game versus Protoss, that is quite a mix-up. I know he's always been able to kind of, you know, hold his own, make some stuff happen, but ultimately, it's never really where his strength lay. He's like a little bit more of a timing attack kind of guy, and he's really darn good at the execution of those. He's really good at just fine-tuning certain builds and such in order to make stuff like that happen. But ultimately, it feels nice though to see Innovation kind of mixing it up here. playing this defensively. Being like, alright, well, you know what? Let me just take it to the late game. Let me just see what I can do. He's been poking in and out a couple of times with these small bio forces. Which makes me wonder what he is trying to do. Maybe he's just trying to figure out where Trap may be coming from. And then it's going to be an easier time overall to set up those siege tanks differently. Maybe he is already kind of expecting Trap to be more aggressive here. Maybe that's what he's hoping will happen. So far though, Trap pretty much as passive as Innovation. Maybe a little bit more proactive on the map. Okay. This is the exact reason why I don't like Innovations. Oh, late game TVP. Sometimes he does tend to struggle with the disruptors. No, I'm not saying that the other Terrans don't, but in particularly seen Innovation sometimes get a little bit too far forward with his infantry and then all of a sudden get blindsided by a disruptor shot which he was not expecting. Okay, this is a big attack coming into his third base though. A lot of Zealots and Stalkers ready to pounce. And Innovation, what is he going to be doing? He's going to try to set up a flank here. The siege tanks coming in. But, oh, actually, they do get all of the disruptors right there. That is quite massive. Was not expecting that to happen. Trap perhaps getting a bit blindsided by the sheer volume of siege tanks that were just sitting there. A little bit further to his right. Now, he still has a large supply of units waiting. Trying to set up a flank, a three-pronged attack right here. The DT's jumping right on top of the infantry, but actually the Colossi and the Stalkers from the bottom side very late to the party. And ultimately that means that Innovation got himself quite a nice trade. It seems like, you know what? How big is that of a difference, right? It's kind of massive, guys. It is absolutely massive. Those DTs and the Zealots pretty much already dead before the Colossi actually got to shoot. They would have gotten, this entire cluster of units would have gotten like three attacks, basically, right? They would have been able to deal a lot of damage for free. And basically doubling the overall damage that was dealt there by Innovation, because he was allowed to take 2 fights instead of just 1. Here we go, moving further forwards. Trying to spread out. That was amazingly... That was a great spread overall. And you know what? Innovation, he's just still pushing forward. He's starting to lose some of these units. Innovation wants to avoid losing those ghosts here. Gonna clump up with some more reinforcements as well. Set up shop once again in front of the... I suppose we could call it the new third base. Only 2 Colossi here with just a small amount of gateway forces. Starting to get real dicey here. Only a single siege tank and only a single Viking as well, but a good amount of Marauders and a good amount of EMP available here. That pretty much every single unit of Trap is going to have their own EMP landing on their face. Well, that is what Innovation wants to do. More bio still, just parade pushing across the field here as well. Innovation knows he is smelling blood and he wants to make it happen right here, right now. Will he be able to? Getting another Colossus there. Just 1 more remains. Is he going to get it? Yeah, I think he will. And down go the gateway forces as well. That is it. That's GG. Just like that. Trap with just one engagement. Not working out for him. Ultimately, making his own bed. Making his own deathbed. That a little bit, right? Which was unfortunate, you know. I mean, these multi-pronged attacks, if they work, right? If you manage to get it all synced up, it is insane. It is so incredibly strong. It does a lot for you overall. But if you don't sync it up correctly, it's basically just a negative instead of a positive all of a sudden. So yeah, a bit unfortunate there. Oh, and all those disruptors as well, right? Oh, my dear lord. I mean, that was just unfortunate. He was not expecting that amount of siege tanks to already be in range of those disruptors. That was, in fact, a little bit of an unlucky moment in a way. But at the same time, he didn't have vision of the army. At least he knew there was an army out on the map. And then He kind of recklessly still moved himself through the middle there as well. He saw some infantry. He could have known there must have been siege tanks close by as well, but maybe he wasn't expecting it to be that close. And for every single disruptor to go down there, that was brutal. That was brutal. A little bit fortunate as well for Innovation, of course, that trap actually, like at the moment we saw the first initial siege tank shots land, that was when he already used a lot of disruptor shots. So a lot of the disruptors were just stationary, sitting there as they were getting pummeled by the siege tank line, which, you know, is a quick way to lose disruptors, unfortunately, for trap. Most likely, you know, if he hadn't pressed that button at that exact time, then he still would have been able to just pull away with a lot of those disruptors and save most of them. But, yeah, not this time around, though. Not going to work out in that way. A little bit unfortunate. What are we doing? What are we doing? We need 1 second here for the Korean stream. All right. Innovation. Innovation once again showing that he is pretty darn amazing at what he does. Even though he's not doing the timing pushes of the 2 base anymore. This 3rd base attack, right? It was a 3 base attack. I guess he was already having his 4th flyover as well, but it looked very strong. It looked very strong. And I think this is where Innovation's strength still lies. Just kind of those straight up deadly pushes somewhere through the middle. So yeah. Oh, apparently we have a little bit of a player update here as well, guys. Unfortunately, Bjorn is sick. We knew he wasn't feeling well beforehand, and we were trying to find a new player to take his place. But ultimately, Bjorn was like, you know what? I'll try my best to see if I can make it work. But apparently, he's messaged our Korean admin Inu, saying that, you know what, I really don't feel well. You better get yourself a replacement, because I'm not going to be able to play anywhere near the level that people would expect from me, or would be required to take on somebody like DRG. So that's a bit unfortunate. Bjorn, you know what? Hope he gets well soon. But yeah, you know what? That's life. Unfortunately, sometimes you get sick, and sometimes, you know, that gets in the way of StarCraft 2. That means that overall Bjorn, will not be playing here today, unfortunately. But then again, you know what? It's better that he takes care of himself. He just takes some rest. He just, you know, doesn't make himself more sick by exhausting himself while he's sick. So, all right. Instead, we're getting Creator as the Protoss. Creator, a very fun Protoss to watch as well. We'll definitely have a blast watching him. I'll quickly update the title here of the stream if I'm able to. There we go. Creator. Done. All right. Yeah, hopefully he gets better soon. I agree. Bjorn is an amazing player overall, but yeah, we don't want to force him into playing when he's sick. You know, I doubt that we could anyway. But that would be against the interest of everybody who likes Bjorn, right? Creator did good yesterday. Let me see this as well, actually. I was working yesterday, and then I had DreamHack in the evening, so I hadn't had a lot of time to look up the results or some of the odds. Let me see. So Creator went up against Solar 3-0. Is that? Oh, that's the Limo League October. So that's pretty. That's not too long ago. That was yesterday. Interesting. And then he went up against Dark. Against Dark, this is also the Olympic League. Yeah. Beat DRG 3-0. He went up 2-4 against Dark as well. That's, you know what, that's impressive also. Dark, and still in my mind, perhaps the best Zerg in Korea. Rogue sometimes making a bit of a contestant in that department as well. But ultimately, I'd say Dark still takes the crown in my opinion. He was 2-0 and then lost 4 in a row. Ah, man. That's a bummer. That is a bummer. Alright, anyway. In the top left side, we have ourselves a blue Terran player fighting for the KC Gamers. He is Innovation. And in the bottom right side, there he is, the red Protoss, fighting for the Jinna Green Wings. He needs to win a couple of games right now himself, actually. He is Trap. First game, Dark vs. Creator, was an hour long. My dear lord. Oh, that does sound pretty crazy. I may have to watch that one. I mean, I do get the replay sent to me after all, so I may just be able to look it up that way. I am a Patreon after all. Okay. Alright. Now, what have we got going for ourselves here for Trap? Just the regular stuff. What have we got going for Innovation? Just the regular stuff as well. It's actually... Wait, no, there's the Reaper. Okay. Sometimes I get confused, but it is as standard gets here, honestly. With the Marine here now, this probe needs to run away. Oh, Innovation. Actually shooting at it perhaps a little bit too early. I doubt that Trap would have felt for it, but maybe the Marine would have been able to get close enough, right? Already so low on the HP there with that probe. I guess he didn't have to. The probe coming in himself, being like, alright, well, yeah, I'll make it happen. Adding in a little bit of extra damage onto a Marine, I suppose. Well, he still gets 2 shot by a Depths, right? So, is it 3 shots? Is it also 3 shots, actually? I should know this, I feel like. So, because if you do attack a SCV with the probe, I guess I'm gonna find out now. Actually, it is 3 shots, isn't it? It is 3 shots. But yeah, if you start attacking with a probe, the SCVs, then you'll be able to 2-shot them, even with just a single shot from the probe. So that's pretty cool to see. That's pretty cool to see. A friend of mine actually mentioned that, you know what, the only thing a Protoss has to do to ensure that the SCVs also get 2-shot by a Depths is just basically get a probe inside of their base and attack every single SCV a single time. And there you go, you fixed it. Now the SCV's as much HP as the other ones. Depths in the main base here, actually. That is looking a little bit troublesome. Overall, the Adepts did split up though, so unfortunately these Adepts not gonna obtain the most value that they could have gotten, but ultimately, I mean, they get this scout, they get a good amount of SCVs, and they get 2 Marines, so I think that is pretty much darn worth it. Pretty much as worth it as it can get. Well, you know, on the edge of being worth it there, perhaps, but you know what, that is still worth it, so great job there. Raven as well now being created by Innovation. Did have those DTs bother him the previous time, of course. Couple of scans served him well though that previous game, but it's always good to have a Raven just in case, and also be able to shut down those observers. Since the observers as well, right? In Submarine, really helping out Trap overall. I know he lost it ultimately, but a couple of times there where Innovation was moving out on the map and Trap immediately got notified. And that is just the worst, right? Being able to, you know, not go across the map undetected. Not being able to just kind of suddenly be in front of your opponent's base. As a Terran in particular, feels pretty darn bad because, well, you need that extra time to set up. You need time to siege up your siege tanks. You need time to set up the flanks. Well, maybe not the flanks, but a little bit of a spread, right? Definitely is going to help you out quite a bit. Spreading out the Marauders. Marauders in front, Marines a little bit further backwards. Yeah. Max Pax used cheese on Showtime yesterday. 3 maps in a row and won 2-1. It was the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. It was just the pure cannon rushes, right? Yeah, I managed to catch a little bit of that. Just the smallest amount. And then they played the Benny Hill theme song afterwards. That's kind of funny. Something like that. Yeah, that was it. My god. Max Specs, man. He is gonna make it big. He knows what he needs to do. He's so good at it as well. It's nuts. Like, there's more people that just do the cheese overall, and a lot of people, you know, they start to get familiar with what these players do, and then it just doesn't work anymore. Not Max Specs, though. This is a scary situation here. Okay, there is a siege tank coming out, so I suppose with a good repair here, that should be remedied. But that's so many zealots still being warped in. I'm not quite sure if I like the SCVs being pulled here. This is kind of forcing an innovation into a position where now he has to commit here. He still has a very strong army, of course. Oh, don't lose that Raven. Lost the Raven. Alright, well, this is bad. He's getting, well, stalled quite heavily here as well with those force fields. Just pick up the siege tanks innovation. You need them closer by. You need them in siege mode. It's not doing it. And now look at the spread overall on those gateway forces. Is that going to be enough? There's still a siege tank standing in the back here. A good amount of bio forces as well remain. The Immortal once again goes down. Now probes are going to have to be pulled off the main, well, the natural mineral line as well. More reinforcements for both these players is coming in, but ultimately, I'm not quite sure if this is salvageable here for Trap, as he doesn't have the Robo anymore. All he has is those gateways. More Zealots. I suppose he does have Charge. He does have Blink. He's cleaning up more SCVs as well in the base over here. It looks like sometimes he did do another warp in. Only 7 workers available right now for innovation. And that is with 2 mules as well, though. So that is kind of a band-aid solution for this one, but still needs to do more damage. Just killing a single Nexus here, not gonna be enough. He needs to do more. Let's see if he will be able to. The siege tank goes down relatively quickly. The Stark is now being targeted down. Nice micro there from innovation. Is it going to be enough? It's looking like he's gonna get cleaned up here. Looks like it will be a great game there for Trap. GG is called. Innovation not being able to push himself through. Happens sometimes. That happens sometimes. Innovation, he almost had it. I felt like a couple of times. You know what? If he had a second siege tank, maybe he would have been able to get something to work out into his favor. But ultimately, yeah, not quite happening that way. Not quite happening that way, and unlucky. Unlucky for him. Anyway, that means Trap ties it up, right? That is a 1-to-1 score right now, and yeah, continuing onwards. Thought Innovation had the enough army right there. Yeah, I thought so as well for a moment. I guess he still was kind of in the open with his infantry, right? So the Zealots had a lot of surface area, especially with the charge. Maybe the siege tank as well. I wasn't completely paying attention to the siege tank also, but if you don't control that siege tank and you're just shooting the Zealots right on top of your Marines, that is still a lot of extra damage being dealt to you as well, right? It's not really worth it, the siege tank, at that moment in time anymore. So yeah, that's something you have to keep in mind as well. To stay on top of the micro of that siege tank, not just the bio. Okay, but you know what? Trap, he had enough. He did, if Trap just YOLO'd into it like he tends to. He was close to, right? It looked like he was considering that option, but he played it smart. He was like, you know what? Actually, hold up. Hold the phone. Let me just back up a little bit here. Make sure that I get 2 more warp-ins. And, well, paying off in dividends. Very well done. Very well done. Tying up the series that way. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. Alright, game number 3 will be played on Oxide. Oxide, a relatively small map. There is a bit of a bit of a, well, blockade here, I would say, though. Of course, that is going to slow you down overall. But ultimately still a fairly short rush distance. That being said, there's a good amount of choke points as well, right? You can set up shop relatively easily on the 3 base, and the 4th base not too uncommon to be taken relatively quickly afterwards. After your 4th base, it gets a little bit more dicey getting the 5th and the 6th. Those bases a bit further out, a bit closer to your opponent, of course, especially with their expansions also kind of being on the edge of the locations right there. But ultimately still a map where it's kind of clear how it will be split up. Alright, anyway. I haven't introduced them just quite yet. In the bottom left side, Blue Terran. Fighting for the Kaisi Gamers. He is Innovation. And in the top right side, there he is, the red Protoss. Fighting for Jinair Greenwings. He is Trap. Right, starting the annoyance immediately here. Probe's the most annoying unit in the entire game after all. It's always kind of funny to me, like this kind of prodding and, you know, probing, as I like to call it, with the probe units. It's not something that you see other races do. Right? It really is just mainly Protoss for some reason. And I always wondered to myself, I mean, wouldn't it make sense that if it's worth doing, that some of the other races would also do it? I suppose it's a little bit easier for Protoss to eke out their max efficiency mining earlier on, right? Just get fully saturated on their first base a little bit sooner because of that chrono boost. So we can see a couple more probes. So maybe that is why they are allowed to send one away a little bit earlier on. But still interesting to me. Why is he question marking here? What did he see? Alright. Twilight Council on the way. And a robo. Oh. Man, I love these guys. That's a ton of fun. Alright, anyway. Both these guys, Enki and Inu, they are fantastic at what they do. And just always a blast to talk with them. The universal language. The question mark. Nani? Alright, so once again it will be the blink play here. The Hellions not gonna gain access to the natural base, so won't be able to figure this out. The Reaper, I guess it was the Reaper, right? That the Reaper died. I think that's just something I missed, maybe. Trying to run in there. Let me see what he scouted. Let me see what he scouted. If I can click on it. Apparently the Hellion I had selected died. Oh, that's close. I guess it wasn't even built at that moment in time. I really wonder why he did the question mark. I think he killed the Reaper at that moment in time. I think I just missed it. I'm sorry. But yeah, I'm pretty certain that is the case. And then probably the question mark as well is that, you know, the Reaper came in at a weird timing overall, you know. With the mines again, this time no probe being pulled. 4 go down a second base as well. How? Okay, yes, there we go. It's gonna grab some of them. But again, well, some probes dying at natural base as well. 6 of them in total. Not as clean of a response as we saw in game number 1. That could be a problem right here. Now 2 siege tanks are available. The first siege tank a bit too far away still in the natural base. The one in the main base gets targeted down. And third Siege tank is on the way as well. It's going to take him a little bit, though. As Trap is repositioning himself. This siege tank does feel like it's a little bit too far forwards. Wants to back up a little bit. Exactly what Innovation does. You need to be so careful with these siege tanks. If you put them in a position where stocks are just able to blink on top of it, that could be just GG overall. If you let that happen multiple times, and you know what? There we go. The second siege tank is dying. The positioning really isn't that bad. It's pretty darn good actually from Innovation, but this time around his bio units just weren't in the right place. Oh my god, he's losing another one. Oi, that could be incredibly painful right now. I think this may start to snowball here, guys. It is just 4 gateways, isn't it? Yes, it is. So, I mean, most likely Trap planning to get himself another base behind this. Not too far away. But ultimately, if you're starting to do this much damage, I don't blame him to be thinking to himself to just keep making more. Get himself more Stalkers. Oh, another Siege Tanks falls. And this is, that's going to be it, I feel like. Innovation just not being able to keep his Siege Tanks alive this time around is going to fall down into the abyss because of some Stalker micro right now. That is looking pretty darn impeccable. The scan on top tries to figure out if there is, in fact, a observer that manages to see it, but doesn't manage to clean it up. Has to spend another scan right there. The Stalkers again jumping forward, though. Another Siege Tank falls. Yeah, that's it. That's GG. A quick victory right there. Blink Stalker pressure. I mean, it's still very, very lethal if you don't have the units in the right position, and it can go sideways very, very quickly, as we just saw right there. Bit unfortunate, but ultimately that is what happens in the game of StarCraft 2. Trap turning the table, so you know, yeah, man, he definitely did. Instead of the Terrans now being aggressive off of the 2 base, suddenly it is the Protoss being aggressive on the 2 base, right? With the Blink Stalkers and such. It's definitely interesting. It's a strong build. Yeah, it's a very, very strong build. And like I said, right, you can lose one siege tank a bit out of position. Very quickly you can lose the second one, and if you lose that second one, suddenly you are in a world of trouble. Because you need to have about 3 of them to really kind of secure your positioning. In order to have like a siege tank line, one over here, one over there, and then one in the middle. So the middle one covers the one on the outside. If he tries to go on the middle one, of course, that is doomed right from the beginning anyway, because there's 2 siege tanks covering it. But you always need siege tanks covering your siege tank, and you need a minimum of 3 to do that, while also still protecting all your economic assets relatively well. And it didn't quite work out there, unfortunately. Ah, okay. Right, Romanticide, apparently map number 4, where... Wait, what? Cheganatha? Huh. Am I going crazy? We've not seen Romanticide yet, right? Why are we switching... Why are we switching Romanticide with Jaganatha? Interesting. I don't know. Anyway, we're going into the next game right here. Innovation versus Trap. Did we just double host something? I don't know. No, we didn't. I mean, this is just game number 4. Huh. Crazy. Oh well. There we go. You know what? Had a very strong start in this series, but now he's kind of falling apart. He needs 2 more victories in a row here in order to advance into round number 2. The best of 7 that will be coming up afterwards. He's the Blue Terran. It's from Kai C Gaming. He is Innovation. Top right side, there he is, the red Protoss fighting for the generic green wings. He is Trap. Also, what's up, Sun Lily? Glad you could join us once again. Very much appreciated. Always fun having you around. Alright, so what are they doing? What are they doing? These cheeky little buggers. Jaganetha, in TVP. Let's see who would benefit from this one. I feel like it's always just the race that has less setup time overall, right? That would benefit from quicker movement speed. Unless if you're already set up as innovation, perhaps, somewhere. But even then, like, it's only gonna help out if Trap isn't aware of innovation being there and he move commands or something, right? So he takes, like, maybe 2 shots from the siege tank instead of just 1 because he, well, moves in quicker. That's a big if, right? So ultimately, I feel like these speed zones will always benefit the player that needs to run into the other one, which is never really Terran overall. But a lot of Terrans have been picking this map recently, right? Yesterday in DreamHack, we saw Namshaw versus Epic in this scenario as well. And I was kind of scratching my head, thinking to myself, like, why wouldn't Epic, as a Terran player, veto this map? Because ultimately, Ling Baneling, they are so incredibly quick here. If you move anywhere near these circles, and Namshar is aware that you are, all of a sudden that is a fantastic opportunity for him to just kind of run into you. With or without creep. I mean, obviously with creep it would be even better, but ultimately you don't necessarily need the creep anymore because the response time is just lessened so much that it is very, very difficult. You can't quite get your stuff into safe space. And of course you may say, well, that means he gets to run away quicker as well, doesn't it? Yeah, but I mean, it's the same idea in ZVZ, right? Where if you have creep and the offensive player moves onto the creep, but then he's like, oh shoot, I shouldn't be here, I need to move away. He moves away from creep right from this place right here. He's going to slow down, and that gives the opportunity for the players still on the creep to catch up because they still move quicker. So they can move all to the edge right over here and then immediately start attacking again. And with Zerglings and Banelings, that gives them a little bit of time to catch up as well, right? Close the distance between them and the Terran players. So ultimately, I could be wrong, but ultimately I feel like this is not the greatest thing for Terrans, these slow zones. So I'm always surprised to see it when there's a Terran player. I suppose in TVP it's a little bit less important though. I know I like to go on about these things in maybe a bit too deep a depth, but ultimately, you know what? That's where I find my joy in this game. It's interesting to think about, in my opinion. Right? Because that same kind of principle works for if you're well, in charge of Zealots, Colossi as well, I suppose, right? You don't really want them to be stationary. You want them to run in or move backwards, depending on the situation. Disruptor shots as well. I'm pretty certain disruptor shots, when they go into those speed zones, the acceleration zone generator, then ultimately that is going to be very difficult. Alright, but anyway, all of that aside, we have another one of these attacks right here from the Blink Stalkers, it looks like. This time around, Innovation, he has got himself a very nice wall here, but ultimately it still worries me slightly as there's only a single siege tank right now available. It's going to take him a moment before he gets the second one. To be fair though, this map, a little bit less of an open area to get into the main base, so perhaps that's going to mean a little bit more of an easy access time overall here for Trap. Okay, Trap jumping on top of the bunker there with the Adept being dropped right next to the siege tanks, catching all the fire there. So very interesting maneuver there. Just kind of forcing the siege tank to fire at that adept first and foremost. Enough marines now to not allow that to happen anymore. But a very nice catch there by Trap. A brilliant play, honestly. And this time around, he's going to grab a third base a lot quicker as well. So yeah, he's not committing to this as much as he was previously. He's still committing for it, though. There's 3 siege tanks. There's one siege tank. Just like that. And going deeper into the mineral fields here. It's going to send the War Prism further out as well. Needs another blink right now, but it's still a little bit on the cooldown. Gets the Raven, though. That's a big pick-off as well. A couple of Stalkers still kind of stuck in this base, trying to find more value. Warping in even more Stalkers here. I was not anticipating that, but you know what? Well, is it working out? I don't think so anymore. For a moment, I thought it may, but ultimately, the Marine still has a lot of damage with this Stimpack there. Getting rid of all these Stalkers. And that means, you know what, not only did those Stalkers die, Trap's going to have to rebuild those. And that slows down his overall production of AoE damage dealers later on, right? The damage that he did obtain overall, was it worth it? Was it? I don't think it was. I really don't think it was. Trap spending more money on his expansion this time around and still committing very, very harshly with those Blink Stalkers. Was not expecting that, but that's what he did, and now... We'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. I think a counter-attack from Innovation here could look absolutely devastating, right? Even though, yes, he did lose the siege tanks. Yes, he did lose the Raven. He still has a good amount of supply here. He has a healthy amount of bioforces and no AoE damage anywhere in sight for Trap. He doesn't have the Robo Bay. He doesn't have the High Templar Archives. He doesn't have anything of that sort. All he has is Gateway Forces, and they really don't scale well against the Bio. So instead, what Trap is looking to do is be a little bit cheeky himself here. Try to get a bit of damage dealt before Innovation reaches the other side of the map, but Innovation already very close. Is he going to try to move backwards here? It looks like he won't. He's just going to send in some SCVs with some reinforcing bio, as he is going to start to pummel the front door here of Trap. 3 siege tanks in prime location. Alright, Innovation just needs to hold on here for a little bit longer. Has another siege tank at home as well. I think that should be enough. Alright, let's take a look at the base of Trap right now. Innovation, he is losing a lot at home, but ultimately it is going to be enough. Yeah, there we go. GG is called. Trap knows that he will not have enough to stop the onslaught of Terran ripping apart his natural base. So, GG is called. And that means we're tied up in the series once more. It's all to play for right now with a single game. And with the way these guys are playing, I mean, who would you expect to win here? I'm not quite sure that I know. It's a difficult one to call. It could go whichever way. Right? I suppose Trap did do a little bit more of a gamble there. I'm not sure. Maybe he was anticipating Innovation to crumble once again. But if he was, then why would he go for the third base? So maybe the third base was a before idea, before he actually started to see that he got that many siege tanks, right? And then after he got the third base, he got that many siege tank, and he was like, you know what, I may be able to snowball this again. And who knows, maybe he would have been able to snowball that again if he had those 4 extra Stalkers instead of a Nexus. Who knows? Who knows? But ultimately, not working out for him there. We're going into map number 5, Romanticide. I think they realized that they may have switched up the map order. I don't know. They're laughing at one another, so that's all I know. Game number 5, that's right. The first series already going to the ace match right here, guys. Trap and Innovation. You know, it's always nice when you start off a series going like, alright, Trap versus Innovation. This should be close. This should be pretty darn poke. And ultimately, that's what it turns out to be, you know. That is what we get. Always a great thing to have happen like that. Always fun to see something like this occurring in your stream. So, well done. Thank you. Thank you, Trap. Thank you, Innovation, for giving us one hell of a show. Best luck to both of them. You can translate if you can zoom. It's alright. It's alright. It's alright, Riverside. Maybe we'll come back to it if we have a little bit of downtime in between the series here. Between this one and Creator versus DRG later on. Alright, here we go. Alright. In this top left side, we have ourselves a blue Terran player fighting for the Kai Z. Gamers. He is Innovation. You missed the interviews as well with Hajin. Oh yeah, Hajin is great at doing interviews and such. What a talented individual. Anyway, in the bottom right side, a red Protoss player fighting for the Jedi Green Wings. He is Trap. They were entertaining as well in between. Yeah, the King of Battles. I mean, sometimes we used to do the Hutchinson interviews as well with the Alpha Pro series. But usually that would only be after a best of 9 or something like that. We would do a couple of those interviews. But yeah, I mean, Hutchinson, you know, she's a business lady. We can't get her for all the show matches, unfortunately. Even though we would like to. It makes a lot of sense. Anyway. She's also very busy, of course, with the League of Legends crew, the team. You were mentioning those we did in the Africa? Ah, okay, okay. I thought you were mentioning the one on King of Battles. King of Battles, we also had some pretty darn great interviews overall. I always get a little bit nervous, especially when it's just me, but, you know, when it was Rushy there as well, and we kind of got to do some pre-talking overall and such. It felt a little bit better. I think I came up with some alright questions, I think, in King of Battles. I don't know. She's the manager in SKT. I'm not sure if she's the manager, but she manages players, so I think she's like a manager or something like that. I wouldn't know the exact title, but yeah, she's doing some great stuff there. That is for certain. Anyway, Twilight Council here coming in again. My casting was fantastic. No worries. Thank you, man. Thank you. I was referring to the questions, though. You know, the questions during the interviews. Those were. I don't do a lot of interviews overall. It does seem like something that I may want to look into a little bit more so to try and figure out, you know, how to listen properly to people and then do follow-up questions, you know, so it feels more like a conversation and such. There's a lot of people that I quite admire that are incredible at doing interviews overall. I think, you know what, Hutchinson, one of them. So it always feels a little bit weird when I'm in charge of questions and then then she's just sitting there to translate and I'm just like all right, well, here we go. Anyway, but yeah, some inspiration I will gain from some other interviewers. Something I look forward to improving at some later point in time. The questions were good as well. It would be a great addition if you invested current pro role players, whether they're... Oh, you've invited current pro players, whether they're Korean or European. Yeah? Yeah, I agree, honestly. But, you know, it is difficult. They aren't always in the mood for it. In offline events, it's sometimes a little bit easier. Innovation is getting inside of this base, by the way, with a couple of aliens and the Reapers. It's going to be able to see absolutely everything. Kill off 4 probes as well. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. Like the Home Story Cup interviews with Hero Marine and Raynor sitting on the couch. Yeah. That was fantastic, wasn't it? I mean, that's the benefit of having the offline events, right? You already have the players there. They don't have much else to do other than just sitting somewhere and talking about the game. They may as well just sit on the couch with people and talk about the game there, right? I love those. I love those as well, honestly. That's so much fun to watch. And yeah, hopefully we'll be able to get some more Home Story Cups of the online variety, or maybe some other offline events soon again, guys. That's the dream. I definitely want to go over there and say hi to a lot of people. Guest player caster, yeah. It's always nice, right? Anyway, what are we seeing here? Big ball of Marines is coming out. It did get scouted out by Trap. Trap in this round didn't go for the... Well, he did go for the Blink Stalkers, but he's not committing to any type of attack, right? He made a quicker transition into the Colossi attack right here. Grabbing a couple of shield batteries also. Oh, he got the... I mean... It's okay. It's okay. It may become a little bit difficult now that he lost those 2 Stalkers and a lot of those shields. Shield battery is going to spend a lot of energy healing up these boys. Has to cancel his third base right there. That is rather nasty. Bit unfortunate from him as well, I suppose, but... Well, it's a good play there from Innovation. Wasn't expecting the Marines to be able to do this much. Apparently, Widowmines again here in the natural base. I was not even seeing that one happening. 7 kills on this boy, and only 2 on the smaller one. Obviously smaller because he got less kills. That is quite interesting. That is quite interesting. Innovation, very quick, like a triple combo attack right there. Coming in with 2 medevacs and the Marine Ball. So basically what he did, right, this is kind of interesting to dissect. He went for a more regular opening where you have the 2 racks, it turns out. Okay, not even 3 racks, he goes for 2 racks. He makes the amount of Marines where you would expect a double medevac drop with Marines coming in. But instead, what he did, he utilized the money for that 3rd racks into getting some Widowmines, getting himself the double medevac, allowing the Marines to just go in solo overall without the medevac, and then having the multi-pronged attack happen from the Widowmines at the same time. So this is a very interesting build actually that we're seeing here from Innovation, one I haven't seen all too often. And it works out in a way because Trap was investing more money into those Colossi right now. And he was not quite doing the mass Blink Stalker here. He was staying a bit more on the gateway force off of the 2 base. Here we go. Innovation once again. Looking for the defense here. This is also like a cluster of units that we've been seeing a lot more of recently, right? Couple of Colossi there with the sentries ready to force field away something. What's he saying? He's definitely saying something. What's happening here, Riverside? He's talking a lot right now. I think he's just gonna go for the all-in. Perhaps because of the Widowmines. Now, I don't think I don't think he is assuming he's gonna be able to win here, but ultimately, he's kind of forced to, in a way, right? I guess he could move backwards, but it's going to be in a horrendous position overall. It's going to be incredibly rough to fight back if he doesn't manage to do anything right now. I mean, if it was proxy Stargate... Oh, that's a good point. What were you going to do? That's a good point. That is a good point. Not much, I would imagine. He would just roll over and die at that point. Oh, he would have lost so much of his stuff. But that's an interesting build, I suppose, right? It's a bit of a gamble. You don't have that much at home, as Trap is pointing out for us, but ultimately... ultimately working out rather well in this situation. Rotating around the army of Innovation. Innovation, is he just going to start pushing in here? I think he may. It's not that much on this ramp area right now. Disruptor already scanned. Trying to get picked off by the small amount of Marauders right there. Trap once again committing here. The Gateway Force is a bit ahead of the Colossi, but should be able to get those together momentarily. Another Disruptor in the production tab. Alright, Trap. He really doesn't look as intimidating as this though, does he? He really does not. Is this ever going to be salvaged here? He needs to have the best Disruptor shots I've seen in my whole life. And you know what? Even though those were pretty darn good, well, one of them was. Still not enough. Still not quite enough. And here in the home base of Innovation, yeah, there's just too much. GG is called. And that's it.